go. What's crappening, everybody? Made it. Friday, April 19th. I might call this Christmas Eve. And we've got a 14-game slate today. We don't have the same garbage that we've been dealing with for the past 2 days. Lots of high-end pitching at the top. Mother Nature just dropping buckets and buckets across the Northeast. Burning all to the ground. I don't live there anymore. Adam, what's going on, man? How was your night?
It was pretty good. Had a nice basketball night for the first time in a while since I haven't played basketball in a while. So that was fun. Baseball went okay, I guess. Excited for an actual full slate where I don't have to think about guys like Chris Stratton and Hunter Wood.
It makes things better when you can just say, you know what, the only pitchers I'm going to have today are probably decent.
Yeah, yep.
Very fulfilling. Very fulfilling. We're going to hit every game today. And there is an overwhelming amount of weather for the games in the Northeast. Like 5 games are going to be like really impacted by water. We're just going to treat them like they're all good to go for right now. But you'll have the deeper dive and live before lock to really hash out real weather concerns as we get closer to lock. So just be aware of it that things are going to look a lot different in, however many hours that is, 9, 6. I can't do the math right now. Just know just pay attention. Just pay attention to the weather. That's all I can say. First up, promo code MLB Strategy. One big word. You get 50% off your first month with us. Any monthly package you choose, it can have Fantasy Cruncher in it. And now's the perfect time to do it. We still have NBA playoff content, NHL playoff content, MMA, PGA, NASCAR, tennis. Am I missing any other sports? Probably. NFL, but it's not really going on. You're not going to get anything. Sorry. But you will eventually. So if you want to sign up, MLB Strategy is the promo code. And we are brought to you, as always, now by Yahoo Sports. They are the presenting sponsor of the MLB Strategy Show. Could not be happier to have them. We will be doing an MLB Strategy specific show for Yahoo today. Myself and EMAC going to go through the entire Yahoo slate, maybe build a couple lineups with everybody. So tune into that right around 12:30, just after the Awesemo Odds betting show at 11:30 with Ben Rasa, Jordan Frank, and special guest Chris Wassel today, talking NHL playoffs. I'm going to drop the Yahoo link into chat right now. If you're going to sign up at Yahoo, it would be really beneficial to us for you to click the link to do it. That is what helps us out the most. And if you do that, you can use the promo code AWESEMO and get $30 in Yahoo Sports rewards points. You could use those directly onto contests. As good as cash to them. Kind of like Camel Cash. We got a lot to talk about. I think we need to just dive right in. What do you say?
Yeah, let's go.
Alrighty. Baltimore Orioles, Minnesota Twins. Orioles 3.7 run implied total, Twins 4.8. It's a 63% chance to win for the Twins. Alex Cobb on the hill for Baltimore. Jose Barrios going for the Twins. This one is the most likely to not exist tonight. Just FYI, if you're looking for the information, this one looks most rough. And I'm not really surprised. If I were Mother Nature, I'd be trying to drown out Baltimore as well.
Hey, man, they won a game last night against the best team in the East.
I don't even know who they played. I don't even remember who pitched. Not Ryan Yarbrough.
Not Ryan Yarbrough.
Oh, that was perfect. Okay, let's talk Orioles to start. And I think this one can go relatively quickly. Not a lot that I would be looking to target on Baltimore. It doesn't look all that great outside of, I would say, VR continues to look like a decent, second base option. A little bit underpriced on FanDuel. Can you imagine going to the Orioles at all if this game plays?
No, 14-game slate. Jose Barrios, a pitcher that I have a lot of respect for. He's kind of been trashed his entire career outside of Minnesota, but still, 14-game slate. Orioles aren't good. VR and Mancini are fine, but in the context of a full slate, I don't see getting there.
Alrighty. Yeah, I'd feel the same way. I'm going to grab ownership quickly. I just realized I didn't put it into the sheet. And I assume that Baltimore will have just about none of it. Really hard. It would surprise me if they had anything.
Yeah, for sure.
So before we hit on Twins bats, would Barrios be a guy that you're looking at if you knew this game was going to play?
Yes, I mean, I like taking pitchers against Baltimore. Barrios has really good stuff. I like him as a pitcher. The problem, I guess, is his price tag, at least on some sites. Like I think he's really appealing on Yahoo.
Yeah.
He's, if I remember correctly, a lot cheaper than like Justin Verlander.
He is $49 on Yahoo. Verlander is 56.
Right. So you get a price difference there. But like on DraftKings, he's more expensive than Verlander.
Yeah.
He's a lot more expensive than like Corey Kluber, who God knows what to make of him, but still is a lot more expensive than him. So it's tougher for me to get there on DraftKings than it would be on other sites.
Yeah, we have him projected for 9% ownership on DraftKings. Only 3% to Verlander, which is, I'm sure, a weather issue. So keeping an eye on ownership throughout the day will also be very important because if anything in the radar changes, we could see dramatic swings in our projected ownership. Yeah, I don't have any, like, he grades out well. I think there are like 4 really quality options at the top, some with question marks, some without, and I think that he is one of them. The DraftKings price is just a little crazy, him being most expensive, but that's what happens when you play the Orioles. There's plenty to like. I don't have any problem getting to him, but as of right now, it looks like it won't matter at all.
Yeah, and also as far as the ownership goes, I expect this to be a slate, barring like 5 games getting rained out and it becoming like a 9-game slate or whatever. I expect this to be a slate where ownership's really spread out. So I don't think that'll end up impacting my lineups quite as much as it does on smaller slates.
How do you feel about Twins bats against Alex Cobb?
Love them if this game's good to go.
Same. Public likes them too. They're pretty cheap on FanDuel.
Yeah, Cobb's just not great. When he's throwing his splitter and actually pitching, up to like his full potential, he's decent still, but that's just not a consistent thing. So far this season, he's allowed the highest expected WOBA on the slate at 343, independent of handedness, just overall. And Minnesota's got a lot of guys in this lineup that, for one, are difficult to strike out, like Kepler, Rosario, Polanco at the top, but also have some power. All 3 of those guys have power. Nelson Cruz has power in a revenge game in Camden Yards. It's a good lineup. Jonathan Scope has some power at second base too. CJ Cron, Marwin Gonzales, like it's a deep lineup of guys that can do damage against Cobb and a bad Baltimore bullpen.
Yeah, I would have liked to target here. Not looking like the most likely scenario, but if this game somehow shifts and you can get it in, feel free to roster up some Twins.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Twins might have been my favorite stack on the slate if this game goes.
I believe that. Nelson Cruz grades out really well for me. Kepler, if he's leading off, nice price tag, extra at bats, lefty righty matchup, hard not to like it.
Yep.
All right, moving on. Pirates and Giants. This one, back to weather. Not looking good, but might be a little bit more of like we start this game at 9:05 instead of 7:05. So again, keep an eye on it. A lot of these games that we talk about to start are all East Coast starts, so, and Northeast in particular. That's where all the trouble lies. Jordan Lyles going for Pittsburgh. Madison Bumgarner going for San Francisco. Lyles not getting any real love. Bumgarner just around 5% expected ownership. If this one goes, would you have any interest in Bumgarner?
No. I see no reason to pay to pay up for Bumgarner on a full slate of pitching where, there are some risky pitching options, but they have upside. And you have Bumgarner, who is just average. I don't think he's that good anymore. Pittsburgh doesn't have a ton of strikeouts in their lineups, in their lineup. Like, I think Bumgarner does fine. It's just that I don't like the price tag on him. I don't like him as a pitcher for DFS purposes. I don't see the need to get there.
Yeah, if I were the Giants, I'd be happy to have him going out there, but he does not make me want to get him as a DFS option. Just overpriced. Third most expensive pitcher on FanDuel and DK. He's more reasonably priced at $43 on Yahoo, which is 7th. But I mean, what are you hoping to get out of it? The
Right.
Pittsburgh team just doesn't strike out.
Yeah, I mean, looking at like his numbers this season, he's allowed a 321 expected WOBA overall with a 10.2% swinging strike percentage. Like the guy is just average. He's he used to be great. He's really fun to watch in the playoffs. Not that guy anymore, but he's still kind of priced like it.
And he once dated someone named Madison Bumgarner.
Yep. And he's from a town named after his family.
That is one of the weirdest things I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah. It's still crazy to me that they definitely were not related.
Yeah.
But he's from a town named after his family because everyone in his family lives there.
Yeah.
And
I feel like someone just lost that paperwork.
Right. Like I would have cut that off just to like make sure I'm not taking any chances on that.
Yeah. What is this, Game of Thrones?
I don't get it because I've never seen it.
Oh. They don't really care if it's family for the most part.
Gotcha.
Some people really advocate for it. I mean, that's how the first episode ends.
Way to ruin it for me, Josh. I was about to start watching it.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, it's. I didn't even tell you what actually happens, but you know, it's an interesting piece of the end of the first episode.
Gotcha.
Yeah, they go right for it. Pirates bats? Anything here?
No.
Starling Marte?
Yeah, I'll say 3,900 on Marte is nice. 2,800 on Francisco Cervelli at catcher.
Yeah. That's probably your cash catcher if you're one-offing. 21% expected ownership on DK.
Yeah. Jung Ho Kang, if he's hitting fifth at 3,100 is fine. Not guys that I'm getting excited about because, Bumgarner's not bad.
Right.
And the park's not great, but the price tags are really appealing. It's like they priced him for, 2013 Madison Bumgarner.
Oh, man, I wish we could play 2013 DFS.
Yeah.
Knowing what we know now.
Win every single day.
Oh, it would be great. It would be so great. Like, honey, look, here's the deal. I'm quitting my job.
Yeah.
This is going to be really important. It's going to be a lot of work because none of the automated tools exist yet. But just trust me here. We're going to be able to do some really cool stuff in the next 2 years.
Okay.
Giants side, any interest in the bats?
No, I mean, I respect Lyles. I think that he's pretty good at preventing runs. I don't like him that much as a DFS pitcher just because he doesn't really pile up strikeouts either. But he's, been pretty good this year. 301 expected WOBA allowed. If you go back to previous seasons, he doesn't really get hit hard either. 11.3% swinging strike percentage. And you have price tags coming up a little bit on the Giants. I love rostering Brandon Belt, but he's up over 4K now. The guys at the top, like Steven Duggar, people love rostering him, and then they get lucky and he hits a home run every time. He's not that guy, and so I'm not going there. I don't really see much upside in this lineup here.
No, they're getting no love. But if this game did happen, it's a first base, second base, catcher, but Posey, an outfield four-man stack on FanDuel at essentially no salary, Belt being at 3K, the most expensive guy. So if you're stacking up one of the expensive pitchers and another expensive stack like the Astros, it could be easy to get to a cheap Giants stack with it, but it's not something that I would try to be getting to in bulk. The pieces just kind of fit pretty well today.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And Joe Panic is a $9 second baseman on Yahoo just in case this game happens. Alrighty, this one will be fun for us. What are the chances that the Yankees and Royals game actually plays? It's not high, right?
I think it's decent. So this one I think looks better than the first two. It's just a matter of if you get a mid-inning delay for the pitching.
Check out the Awesome Weather account for updates throughout the day. Straight from the boss man himself. 4.9 run implied total for the Yanks, 3.7 for the Royals. It's a 62% chance to win for the Yankees. CC Sabathia on the hill for New York. Jacob Junis going for the Royals. I think we are both in agreement here. We greatly prefer Junis to Sabathia.
Yes. I mean, I think Sabathia is fine. Like, I like the matchup for Sabathia better, obviously, going against Kansas City.
Yeah.
It's just that I don't know how deep into the game he goes. And at this point in his career, he doesn't really strike guys out. He just does a really good job of limiting damage against him and getting guys out. So
he just eats them.
Right. Like, he's the guy that, you feel comfortable he's not going to get blown up, and he probably gets you like 15 points. Junis is the one where he might get me -2, but there's a better chance of him getting me 30 than Sabathia.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Sabathia projected for 13% ownership on DraftKings right now. Junis 16, which makes me mildly unhappy, but
that surprises me.
It also, on a day like today, 16 is still not a lot.
Right.
Like, nothing is really chalk. Corey Kluber has the most expected ownership on DK right now at 24%. That still means that 76% of the lineups don't have Corey Kluber.
Right.
It's not as if this is the NBA and he's in 75% of the lineups. Yeah, so I'm with you. I prefer Junis. If I'm playing in, large field GPPs, I prefer Junis. I don't have an issue going to Sabathia just because of how much the Royals strike out, but Junis would be my preference. Yeah, like I think this is the perfect way you explained it, where Junis can get you -2 or 30. I have Sabathia projected for 1.3 more fantasy points in this game, but Junis has an extra 1.1% chance of hitting his target score. So that makes me feel good, and it makes me really feel like all of the digging I did at the beginning of the season is lining up to like the way that we would assume it would. Yeah. How do you feel about Yankees bats?
They have a lot of upside because just the type of pitcher Junis is. Like, the guy gives up power. His fastball is absolute trash. His slider is lights out. And so if he's able to get ahead in counts and finish guys off with his slider, that's where his upside comes from, because he'll strike out 10 guys. But if he's behind in counts, or if they're getting to his fastball early, like if he's not locating perfectly, so far this year he's got a 490 expected ISO to right-handed hitters on his fastball. Since last year, it's 347. Like, those are just insane numbers, and that's why he is basically Dylan Bundy. Like, he strikes you out or he gives up a home run if you're right-handed. So you do get a lot of upside, and you get really reasonable price tags on guys like Judge, Voit, Torres, Frazier. These guys all have right-handed power. So I like the Yankees bats. Not to mention, you also have a bad Kansas City bullpen behind Junis if he gets in trouble early. So I think the Yankees are a really, really high upside spot, whether it's one-offs, mini stacks, full stacks, whatever. Not too many spots on this slate that I plan on playing both sides, but this would be one of them.
Okay. I didn't get to much, and I'm a little surprised. Pricing isn't the best on FanDuel. It is a little bit more advantageous as a team stack on DraftKings from what I see. So like Gardner, Judge, I'm cool with either of those guys as potential one-offs, but I only got 1% of Torres and a small amount of like Merrifield and Mondesi and a little bit of Soler. I'm just not really on this game, and I'm honestly kind of surprised.
Yeah, I haven't crunched yet, but I'd be surprised if, like, on DraftKings with Gleyber Torres, second base shortstop eligible at 4,300, I'd be shocked if I don't get a ton of him.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
Same, Aaron Judge at 4,900 too.
He's 4,400 on FanDuel today. Oh, didn't mean to do that, but let's just wait until this refreshes into no changes whatsoever. Just refresh the lineups that I crunched, but like in my sheet, so for no reason I'm just slowing everything down. Smart, Josh, smart. Okay. Royals bats, anybody stand out to you? Kind of expensive.
Nope. Yeah, they're priced up. Sabathia's fine. The Yankees bullpen's really good. As much as I love Whit Merrifield and Adalberto Mondesi, I don't need to do it today.
I'm with you. That is a really nice spot for Merrifield, though. Gets the platoon advantage, leading off. FanDuel, $3,900 second base option. Only 2% expected ownership, so keep an eye there. I really like him if he is unowned against the lefty in Sabathia. Alrighty, moving on. Indians and Braves. This one's going to be fine, right? Nope. This one looks real bad. Whew. That has a lot of water. Yeah, keep an eye on this one. And this will be incredibly important. So 3.7 run implied total for the Indians, 3.8 for the Braves. 51% chance to win for Atlanta. Corey Kluber on the hill for Cleveland. Tuki Toussaint going for Atlanta. No interest really for me in Toussaint, but we're going to have to talk about Kluber. He grades out really well for me. That should be no surprise. On paper, he is my second best option on both sites behind Verlander. But we need to talk about what is up with him. And is this the Chris Sale version? Is this, who when does he rebound if he rebounds? What do we know in this short sample?
Not a lot. So there's a positive here in that for the season, he still has only allowed a 288 expected WOBA. He has over a 13% swinging strike percentage. It's not like he's getting blasted or anything like that. You still would expect a little bit better from Kluber of old, but that stuff all looks okay. I'm on Brooks now, just kind of pulling up velocity and everything to see if anything really stands out. But I think that I'm kind of the opinion that he's fine and just going through like a rough stretch here. And that while I don't feel comfortable, especially taking him against Atlanta, which is an offense that I do really respect, I think that the price tag, 49 on Yahoo, 9K on DraftKings, outweighs the risks for me.
Yeah, he's really hard to avoid. I only got 9% on my first crunch because there's another guy on FanDuel that is just as good and shockingly $800 cheaper.
Verlander?
Marquez.
Oh, okay.
Kluber is 24% expected ownership on DraftKings, which is the highest number. And similarly, that Marquez guy only at 6 right now. So, look, I like Kluber and I expect to get him. I don't need to go crazy, and there's a decent chance this game doesn't happen. Where do you think you would end up? Just eyeballing it here. If Public's at 24,
probably not higher than that.
Yeah, seems like a weird spot to take a really big stand.
Yeah, there's just so much pitching. You might be higher on Marquez today than I am, but I still love Marquez as a pitcher, and so that's a spot where I don't feel a whole lot differently. Verlander, Verlander is like 10-4 on DraftKings, which is just a really low price point for him. So there's just a lot of different ways to go where I'd be kind of surprised if I get more than 25% Kluber.
No, I'm with you there. There's too many options. Look, and weather's going to play a big part of all of this. What are we getting tagged in here? Forget to
I don't really
the MLB show.
I don't really see anything different on Kluber that stands out, just kind of scrolling through different things on Brooks Baseball.
Good. That makes me feel better, at least.
Yeah. I mean, his slider velocity is down a bit, but in general, his velocity is fine. Movement is a little bit different, but it's not in a way that I would expect it to be worse. He's actually getting more bite on his slider than in the past. His release points are a little bit different, but nothing crazy. And it's different for all of his pitches. So it's not I don't think he's tipping a pitch or anything. Yeah, I don't know. I think he's fine.
Any Toussaint?
Depends on the weather. If we lost Junis and Sabathia, I would have a little bit of interest, I guess. He has good stuff. He has strikeout upside. Cleveland's not very good offensively. He does struggle with walks. The price tag's not bad. I think it depends a lot on the weather for me.
Okay. Yeah, he's just a guy in that 7K range right now that I don't really know how to prioritize anybody. Yeah, he's got great stuff and real garbage command. So if that ever starts to get better, he's going to look really good. But until that does, he's just a live arm. I don't know. That's all. I don't have much to say about him. Anything for you from bats, Indians or Braves?
If you're looking, and again, when ownership spread out like it will be today, leveraging against particular pitchers isn't as viable, but $4,500 for Freddie Freeman's a pretty nice price tag.
For sure. Best play on DK from Atlanta.
Yep, I agree.
Josh Donaldson, 3,500 on FanDuel. Ozzie Albies, 3,800 on FanDuel. I like both of those prices. I'm totally cool with Jose Ramirez across all 3 sites for the Indians, just because he's mildly underpriced, and I used him in the Yahoo thumbnail today, and that dude just looks crazy. when you look at his face, and that's fun for me. So
Yeah.
I like cheering for crazy. Yeah, that's probably it. Keep an eye on this one. Weather's going to be crazy. Pretty big theme for these early games. Marlins and Nats. This one has no weather. 3.6 run implied total for the Marlins, 3.9 for the Nats. It's a 53% chance to win for Washington. Caleb Smith going for Miami. Anibal Sanchez going for Washington. Anibal Sanchez currently at 20% expected ownership on DK, 21% expected ownership on FanDuel. How do you feel about Anibal Sanchez?
I like him. For one, I think the Marlins are the worst offense in baseball, and it would be really hard to convince me otherwise. But for two, I think Sanchez has turned things around. His splitter has been a really good pitch for him. He's just been pretty good so far this season. He has a 282 expected WOBA allowed. In context of the slate, that's higher than only Verlander, Stripling, and Marquez. Not a ton of swinging strikes, but he does at least have a strikeout pitch, which is something that is important for me, especially when we're talking about mid-range guys that don't strike out 30% of hitters. He does at least have a swing and miss pitch. A 20% or 19% swinging strike rate to lefties, 21% swinging strike rate to righties on his splitter. So he has that pitch to get guys out. Great ballpark, terrible lineup, no DH. I like Sanchez quite a bit.
Yeah, he grades out nicely. 8,100 is not my favorite price tag for him today, but it's not a problem. I have him and Caleb Smith really similar today. Rodon very similar to these guys in terms of like GPP upside. There's just a lot of like guys. So seeing the way the weather shakes out is be interesting.
That's the exact comparison I made on the early bird pod with EMAC last night. I really like Sanchez. I love Caleb Smith's strikeout upside. The matchup scares the hell out of me, but I like his stuff. I love Carlos Rodon's stuff, and like on looking at DraftKings, they're $81, $82, and $8,300. So it's hard to really differentiate them. You feel best about Sanchez because of the matchup in the ballpark, but I just don't think that he outscores Smith and Rodon like some massive percentage of the time.
Yeah, so I have Sanchez with the highest projection of the three, but also the lowest target score percentage. So he's like the cashiest play, I guess.
Yeah.
But these are all very marginal changes. 1 point in either direction, 1 percentage point in either direction.
Yeah. And you can throw Erod into that group too.
Yeah, for sure. 13% expected ownership on Rodon, 20 on Sanchez, 0 on Caleb Smith.
Yeah, I mean Smith would be the guy there. Yeah. Like it's a scary matchup, but it's a good park, and the guy's stuff is just so good.
Yeah, it's the type of guy you want to play in large field GPP tournaments.
Yeah, he has a 15% swinging strike rate to righty since the start of last season. That's in 1,200 pitches. He's given up some power, and he struggles with walks. Like there's a very low floor on him, but his fastball has a 13% swinging strike rate. His sliders at 17%. His changeups at 17.5%. Like he's got 3 pitches to right-handed hitters that they just don't make contact with.
Yeah, I like it a lot. 21% ownership on Anibal Sanchez on FanDuel is fascinating. He's 6,800, 18th most expensive pitcher. That seems like a really crazy high number.
That's a really, really, really low price.
It is. Yeah, it's hard for me to like disregard it, but it's a really hard thing for me to want to do on FanDuel just with having so many guys at the top here that have really like slate breaking pitching potential. You need to thread that needle perfectly on Sanchez.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think I'd be okay with it. Like just because you're going to be different with your offenses because there's 28 teams to choose from. I'd be okay just taking.
But are you though? Because if you're playing Sanchez, what you're really saying is here are a couple teams that I'm definitely playing. And
yeah, that's true. Like,
if you're playing Anibal Sanchez, you're probably not also playing 2 unique cheap stacks.
That's a good point. Yeah,
you're playing the Astros, the Rockies, the Phillies, or whoever else is in cores. Like,
there's
I don't know.
A pricing discrepancy on Yahoo too between those 3 that we were talking about. Rodon is 44, Sanchez is 43, Caleb Smith's 35. Yeah. So there it makes it really easy in those tournaments for me to want Caleb Smith.
Yeah, for sure. I'm with you there. Any bats that you want to point out here? I'm not getting too much from the Marlins, but Brian Dozier on FanDuel popping up as per usual, 2,500 in the 2-hole.
Yeah, he's cheap. I would also throw Anthony Rendon in there just because he's insanely good, and because when you do hit the ball, he does allow some power. So I don't mind that. And then even I don't mind the Washington stack here really.
No,
It's
I
like
don't mind Zimmerman here in the 5-hole is really cheap on FanDuel, 2,500, $13 on Yahoo, 37 on DK.
Yeah, I mean, so Juan Soto hits lefties really well. Caleb Smith isn't lights out against lefties. Um, so you have that. You have really appealing price tags on Dozier, Zimmerman. Yan Gomes has power at the catcher position. Rendon's just an absolute monster. It's not a spot that I think comes through a lot because I respect Smith so much, but it is a bad Miami bullpen. It is a pitcher in Smith who can lose control and walk a bunch of guys and drive his pitch count up and get out of there early. And he does allow some power. So just from a talent standpoint, I think that Washington's actually a pretty appealing stack here.
Yeah. I would like them so much more if Caleb Smith was getting any love.
Yeah, I agree.
And I would love to be able to like the Marlins more because of Sanchez's love, but they are just so not good at hitting.
Yeah. I was having a conversation with someone in Slack last night, and he was like, can we just accept that the Orioles offense isn't as bad as we thought it was going to be? And I said, no. I don't care that they've hit reasonably well for 2 weeks, but he was like, well, they're better than the Marlins. I said, yeah, I'll give you that. I don't know that there's another team in the league that I would give you that they're definitely better than, but they are better than the Marlins. They're just so bad.
Yeah. Alrighty. Moving on to two teams that are actually good. The Rays and the Red Sox. 4.5 run implied total for the Rays, 4.5 run implied total for the Red Sox. That's a coin flip because I don't even know if that line is legitimate. There wasn't a line when I started this.
I'll say I have Tampa Bay as a slight favorite.
Yeah, there was no line when this started, so I took this from Fangraphs. So let me just change this quickly. 108, 117. Total is it 9? Because if it's 9, then I pretty much got this right. Oh, not even close to 9. Call it 8.25. Okay. Eduardo Rodriguez pitching for Boston. Do we have any clue whatsoever who is coming in for the Rays today?
I assume it's Yarbrough.
I've been down that road before.
Yeah.
I didn't put him in or anything
He didn't
yet.
come in yesterday, right? I never actually went back and checked that.
He didn't.
I know he didn't come in for.
He didn't.
I know Beats came in for.
That I checked.
Okay. Then yeah, it should be Yarbrough. They need someone to come in.
All right, so I added him in. Nope, didn't spell that right. How do you spell that? Shit.
Yarbrough.
No, I got that is right. Oh yeah, stupid me, because I didn't put him back in the real table to actually drive through the data. Oh, why isn't he coming up? Moron. Yeah. So if you played him last night, I don't think there's rain checks or anything. You don't get the roster him for free today or anything. But man, that'd be a fun little gimmick. Any interest in Yarbrough today?
No, there's a ton of pitching on this slate. The matchup sucks. 0.
Okay, perfect. So then how do you feel about Erod? 23% expected ownership on DK, 9% on FanDuel right now.
I like him. Nice ballpark upgrade going into Tampa Bay. Most of Tampa's best hitters are left-handed, which on one hand sucks for Erod because he had struggled with lefties for years. But you still expect those guys to be worse, like, Brandon Lau. You might not even get Meadows or Kiermaier in the lineup. So that's good for him. They do still have, quality righties with Tommy Pham, with Yandy Diaz, with Aviseo Garcia. But, Mike Zunino has power. It's still not an easy spot, but there are still strikeouts here. And I just think that probably getting guys like Meadows out of the lineup is beneficial. The price tag's fair. I'll take my chances on Erod here. I would say that, him and Sanchez are the two out of that group that I feel best about. I think that Erod probably has a little bit more upside than Sanchez does.
Are you just looking at my sheet? It's without having the numbers in front of you. You're just explaining what I have on the screen. Like he grades out as a hair higher in upside to Anibal Sanchez. Comes in slightly lower in just regular projection.
I'm a baseball genius, Josh. I don't know what to tell you.
True. I'm in for Erod. Again, looks like a really nice GPP play. Would scare me a little bit to run him out in anything else, but there's a lot of swing and miss in this Rays lineup. So if this one holds, it'll be interesting. Any interest in bats in this game from the Rays side? Happy to use Mike Zunino as a $9 catcher on Yahoo. That makes for a really nice one-off. 3,400 on DK, not too shabby either. Anybody else stand out?
Yeah, so I'm with you on Zunino. It's not really appealing pricing on these guys. Like I would kind of like to get to like Tommy Pham or Garcia, but they're not cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Not really there.
Red Sox?
Is $4,900 on DraftKings for Mookie Betts the cheapest price tag we've seen in the last 2 years? Like I feel like it could be.
Feels really low. Was he cold to start last year? Did he get to like 46, 47 or something?
Actually, yeah, I think you're right. I think there was a point where it was just like play Mookie Betts because his price is stupid.
He had like a really dumb BABIP of like 180 or something for like a 3-week stretch.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I don't know why that's kicking around still in the brain, but I've forgotten a lot of important stuff. So if we want to kick out the Mookie Betts' price in 2018 stuff, I'd teach my brain how to delete a little bit. Yeah, I'm fine with anything at the top of the Red Sox, but I can't imagine getting to any of these guys with any sort of value. Benintendi 3,500 on FanDuel, Betts 3,800, JD Martinez 4,200. You can get to these guys with no issue whatsoever.
You can make the same argument for Boston that I made for Washington, where they're not going to come through a lot because it is a bad park. They have Ryan Stanek for the first inning, and then they have a respectable Ryan Yarbrough after that. But when you talk about the talent in this lineup, and that's something that I think really goes overlooked in baseball tournaments because everyone, looks at projections, and obviously that's where you start. But, it's just not as projectable a sport as other sports that we play. And so when you can get really low owned, and in this case, underpriced, I mean, these guys are all at cheaper price points than normal by like 10%. Unowned, underpriced talent just because it's not an ideal matchup. Like these are still some of the best hitters on the slate, all grouped together. I love going to spots like that in tournaments.
Yeah, you and me both. Anytime that I can just simply bet on talent that isn't being owned is the spot that I want to be.
Yep.
If Mitch Moreland today is a first baseman at 3K on FanDuel and he gets no projected ownership and we'll assuredly see a righty to start the game, I'm in.
If Boston's smart, they'll start Steve Pearce, but
true. Really,
which would be a really sneaky play.
Mm-hmm. Will be interesting to see. Anything else in this game?
No, stack up Boston.
Yeah. Eduardo Nunez, $7 on Yahoo. Like those $7 guys. Tigers and White Sox. Tigers 4.2 run implied total. White Sox 4.3. It's a 51% chance to win for the White Sox. Jordan Zimmerman going for the Tigers. Carlos Rodon going for Chicago. Really like we've touched on him here. Really like Rodon as a potential SP2. $8,300 price tag looks good. There's some strikeouts in this Tigers lineup. I'd have no problem using him as a second starter. What about you?
No, me neither. He's throwing his slider a ton this year, which is something I really like to see. Getting a lot of swinging strikes on it, throwing it to both sides of the plate, which, what he's doing to righties is obviously really important against Detroit here. Since last season, a 9.5% swinging strike percentage overall to righties. But so far this season, 12.8%. He's thrown his slider 40% of the time to right-handed hitters compared to 22% of the time last year. So he's basically just really increased the usage of his pitch that gets a ton of swinging strikes. So that's really good to see. Nick Castellanos at 3,900, I absolutely love. Miggy at 3,500 is a really good play. Like the Tigers price tags are really, really cheap. But outside of like those two guys, who in this lineup who are you really concerned about?
No one really. I did get to some Tigers. I'm a little bit over the field. Harrison and Castellanos are the chalk from Detroit, and I'm a little under on those guys, but I've got quite a bit of Miggy at 2,700. A little bit of Candelario, who is massively better against lefties than righties. Don't mind getting to Goodrum if I'm stacking up here. I like Rodon's talent, but this could be a sneaky-ish spot to get a little bit more from the Tigers. You're just probably not going to be happy about it more often than not because they're not all that good.
Yeah. One thing to point out with Harrison, too, not only is he really, really cheap, but Carlos Rodon's never been able to hold runners in his career, and Harrison will take advantage of that.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, these guys are just, it's a really cheap stack to get to. I expect them to be popular with the expensive pitcher, expensive stack combinations. Anything from the White Sox that stands out to you? I can't stop getting a ton of Jose Abreu, and it's really getting depressing. Dude goes 0 for 4 a lot.
Yeah, I mean, he's underpriced. So is Yonder Alonso. I wish Yohan Moncada was. I love rostering that dude, but he's up to like 4,700. So if I get there, like, cool, but I don't think it'll end up being a priority for me. Depending on what pitchers get rained out, I could actually see getting to some Zimmerman. But
okay, talk to me about that. 6,500 on DK.
yeah, it's nothing that I'm confident in. Like, the White Sox have a lot of power, but they also have a lot of strikeouts. Zimmerman he's one of these pitchers that's, made a change over the last couple of years. He started throwing his slider a ton. Since last season, he's thrown it 45% of the time to righties and 23% to lefties, 12.8% swinging strike rate to lefties, 17.1% to righties. Mostly right-handed lineup, probably from the White Sox. Plenty of strikeouts in it. It's just a price play if we lose, like Jake Junis and CC Sabathia or, something like that.
Okay, I got you. Any other White Sox bats you would want to touch on?
No, if you're going to the White Sox, you just want power guys because that's where Zimmerman gets in trouble.
There you go. Perfect time for you guys to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. You can get alerts as soon as we go live, and that should make it way easier for you to never miss what we're doing. Days like today where we have 5 separate shows from now until 7 o'clock. A lot of alerts. Now you can get them all. Alrighty, next up. We're moving pretty good through this.
Yeah, baseball's fun, man.
Well, baseball is easier to talk about.
Yeah.
Quickly. Baseball's easier to talk about quickly.
Yep.
Rangers and Astros, 3.9 run implied total for the Rangers, 5.6 for the Stros. It's a 67% chance to win for Houston. Biggest favorites on the slate. Drew Smyly, not going to be smiling after this one, going for Texas. I can't help myself sometimes. Justin Verlander going for Houston. Verlander grades out as my top pitching option on all 3 sites. Talk to me about if I'm crazy or not.
Yeah, number 1 pitcher on the slate, Drew Smyly. No. Verlander, I mean, he's had some issues in like a couple of starts this year, but not concerned about that. Lowest expected WOBA allowed on the entire slate this season at 249. Lots of strikeouts in the Texas lineup. They have a lot of power, and it's a good park for home runs. But Verlander's still missing bats, 16.1% whiff percentage so far this season to go with the really low expected WOBA. He gets strikeouts against lefties. He gets them against everyone. There's nothing for me not to like about Verlander, and his price tag's really nice.
Tom, if you're listening, you might want to hit ownership. We've got Verlander projected for essentially none. Well, on FanDuel, literally none. On DK, 3%. That would really surprise me, especially with no weather here. So I assume he's one of the chalkier options by the time we get to lock, right?
Yeah, I'd be really surprised if he's not.
I would be really happy if he wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, by chalky, we're not talking, 40% or anything. But
Right.
I really do think ownership would be pretty spread out today.
Yeah. But for him to be at 3 would be, I might play 50 at that point.
If I actually thought he was going to be 3, I would probably just have him everywhere.
Yeah. Because there's a decent chance that I just nuke the field.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, he's not even the most expensive pitcher on DraftKings, which is insane.
Right.
He grades out by far the best pitcher on both of these sites. He's the only guy that I have projected north of 40 on FanDuel. He's the only guy I have projected north of 20 on DK. He doubles up the second best option in terms of the percentage of time he hits his target score. I'm all in for Verlander here. I don't care about the park. It's not July, so it's not 115 degrees yet. And there's a lot to not like on the Rangers. I mean, Danny Santana, Elvis Andrus, these guys aren't great hitters. Forsythe, Kiner Falefa, DeShields, these guys aren't good.
So. I'm kind of offended that you threw Elvis Andrus into a category with Danny Santana, Kiner Falefa, Forsythe, and DeShields, but
I mean, is it that wrong?
Yeah, he's not bad. I mean, he doesn't hit for power. He's not a bad hitter though.
He's got an 88 weighted runs created plus. I grouped him into guys. What?
Over what period of time?
It's his steamer projection.
Really?
Yeah. Santana at 76, Forsythe 91, Falefa 82, DeShields 78. Numbers are all relatively comparable to me. Now, I love the dude as a shortstop. He's a fantastic defender. Former Brave, so I've got a soft spot for him, but I mean, that dude don't hit.
Yeah, I thought he was a lot better than
that. Yeah. So, take back your offense. Is there a Rangers bat you want to get to? I mean, I assume you've got 45% Andrews after that stand.
Yeah, always Joey Gallo.
3,900 on FanDuel. I'm cool with that. He's not going to care that it's Verlander. He'll still put one 500 feet away from home plate if he needs to.
Yeah, damn. Andrews has been a lot worse than I was thinking.
I mean, he was probably decent in 2014?
16 and 17, 109 in 2016, 107 in 2017, fell off to 78 last year.
Yeah, that's brutal.
I still think that Steamer's probably a little bit drunk with 91.
Oh, is it at 91? Has he been okay this year? I haven't refreshed in a week, so I haven't been at 88.
He's at 170 this year.
Okay, yeah, well, there you go. Yeah, so it's risen 3 points since I last updated this.
Yeah, my mental projection that takes nothing into account would be 102 or something.
Okay. Glad we have these sheets and shit, man.
I just look at stuff and throw out numbers here.
Yeah. Astros bats, they are popular. Getting a little bit of ownership here, as they should. One of the three chalkier teams on FanDuel. That's right.
I also think Andrus was injured all of last year. This is just annoying me now because I really think he's better than those numbers.
I mean, maybe he was. Houston is also chalk on DK, but I mean, this is a spot that I want to be. These dudes are set up to smash Drew Smyly. Everybody that's good is a righty. This is just they have the highest implied total, even on a day with cores. How do you get away from Astros bats?
I don't know. So I mean, on one hand, at some point, Smyly he was a pretty good pitcher before his injury.
Yeah.
So there's probably going to be a game at some point where he just gets it all back together, and it's okay, well, that wasn't fun. But he's been really bad so far. 405 expected WOBA allowed. Not missing any bats. 237 expected ISO to righties allowed so far through his first couple of starts, and just so many good righties in this lineup for Houston. The only lefty in the lineup is Michael Brantley, who also is a good hitter against everyone. So, yeah, if Houston fails here, then Houston fails. I don't really care.
They have 4 guys in their projected starting lineup that have strikeout rates at 13% or below.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Yeah, I mean, everybody looks great. I will have an amount of all 9 guys in this lineup, no matter who comes into this lineup. I just want to have shares of everything.
Their pricing on DraftKings is so weird. The top end, it's just flattened out. The top end, Bregman's 4,600. That might be one of the best plays on. It probably is the best play on the slate.
Yeah.
But Springer's 49, Altuve's 51, so they're kind of flattened at the top. But then Jake Marisnick is 4,300, and Aledmus Diaz is 4K. So the bottom, the guys that should be cheap are just jacked up.
that Bregman price. He's 4K on FanDuel.
Wow.
Yeah. And what's really crazy is, if it wasn't for him being an outfielder, I think Springer might be an even better play. 4,200.
Yeah, Springer would be right up there for me.
But either way, it's going to be really, really, really hard for me to avoid Astros, and I won't even try.
Carlos Correa is $19 on Yahoo.
Yeah, that's insane.
They're cheap on Yahoo, man. Brantley's $16. Don't sleep on him there. Correa 19, Bregman 23, Altuve 22, Springer 25.
I mean, if you want to just get away from Correa at 19, you've got a $9 shortstop in Diaz there for you on Yahoo as well. And he's good. He's just not Carlos Correa.
Yeah. Chirino's a nice option too.
Yeah. Not on Yahoo though. He's $18.
No, he's more expensive than Brantley, and he's like the same price as Correa.
Yeah, that one's silly. But that's fine. Plenty of other catcher options on Yahoo to get you there. We'll touch on those at 12:30 in the Yahoo specific DFS strategy show. Myself and EMAC. Anything else here?
Nope.
Cool.
Drew Smyly made some changes last start, but I don't even really want to get into them because I don't want to confuse the point and make it sound like it's a reason not to play Houston.
That's smart. And you'll say one thing and it's like, well, shit, my money said Drew Smyly's incredible now. So I just assumed that I was supposed to fade the Astros and play 45% Smyly. I'm really into dudes that don't have vowels in their last name. Brewers and Dodgers, 4.4 run implied total for the Brewers, 4.7 for the Dodgers. It's a 54% chance to win for LA. Chacin on the hill for Milwaukee, Ross Stripling going for LA. Neither one of these guys getting any real ownership, and I don't see either guy as particularly interesting. I mean, I always assume that I want to take a flyer on Stripling, and then I load up the data and quickly see that I don't. So do you care about either of these guys?
No, not really. I think they're both better real-life pitchers than fantasy pitchers. Neither one, a super high strikeout guy. Both of these offenses are more than competent. I don't, unless, Stripling's a guy where if we lose Carlos Rodon and Jake Junis and CC Sabathia to weather, then maybe I start getting some Stripling. But just two guys where I like them as pitchers and I don't really roster them in DFS that much.
We might have that ownership update now. So I have this weird anchor point in my head for Stripling. Last year, it was in my sheet, I have guys that are starting pitchers dividing their, to set them neutral to the league, divide by the starter's average ERA. Same for anybody that's a reliever. But I had that set up incorrectly at the start of last year, and Stripling had the relief pitcher designation in Fangraphs. So I was dividing what they thought was the relief pitcher ERA by the starting pitching ERA, and he was just coming out like gangbusters. I was like, what is going on? Why does he look so good? Projected as my top guy over and over and over again. I fixed that, and I was like, oh, now he's just a guy. Cool. Thought I had that mistake for 6 weeks.
The implied the run total in this game seems insane to me. Almost 10.
Has it gone up even since I started this morning?
I'm seeing 4.9, 4.8.
4.7, 4.4.
That's really, really weird.
Yeah, it's 9.4 is the actual total, I think, on Pinnacle right now.
Yeah, I don't know. That's crazy to me.
All right, let's grab this ownership now. This looks a little bit more calibrated. So thank you to Tom getting that update in. All right, DraftKings in Verlander chalk at 28%.
Okay.
Making a lot more sense to me now. There we go. So probably in our best interest to just circle back and point out a couple of those on DK. Yeah, Verlander at 28, Kluber 22, Caleb Smith 23. So everything we talked about a little different now. Yeah. Caleb Smith is the most of that Rodon and Sanchez group. Sanchez at 16, Rodon at 11. So now I would probably Lean towards Rodon and GPPs. Erod at 21, Desclafani 14, Jake Junis 11, so that makes me a little bit happier now. Nothing too crazy.
Yeah.
Wow, 2% to Marquez on FanDuel makes me so happy. We'll get there. So these guys are getting no love from a pitching perspective. Not really getting any love from the hitting side. So I don't know what to make of this game because we have the Brewers at roughly 4% aggregate. Same for the Dodgers. No one on FanDuel or DK on either team north of 10%. I just want to stack this game now.
Yeah, I mean, if the totals stay how they are, there's a good chance I end up with stacks here just because of the totals and the ownership. It makes no sense to me. Like, I can't explain why. I can kind of explain why the Dodgers maybe do well. Like Chacin is lights out against righties, but he can struggle against lefties, doesn't miss bats. And if you're not missing the bats of like Jack Peterson and Cody Bellinger, you can get in trouble pretty quickly. So I can like at least make an argument for getting to those guys. I have no idea like what the argument is for the Brewers bats other than they're good. But Stripling is really good at limiting damage. Second lowest expected WOBA on the entire slate at 273 this season. So I'll probably get there for stacks just because the numbers say to, but I can't really give you a good reason why.
No, I'm with you there. The Dodgers grade out a lot better for me than the Brewers do. I got double the field on the Dodgers, and I couldn't be happier there. Like if Jock Peterson is 7, I'm happy to have 14. If AJ Pollock is 5, I'm happy to have 10. Like I'll bet on talent.
Yeah, I mean so the thing with the Dodgers, Cody Bellinger is $5,600 on DraftKings. JD Martinez is 51. Mookie Betts is 49. Springer is 49. I mean, you're really, and I don't mind in baseball, obviously just overpaying for a guy for low ownership because it's just, anyone can go 0 for 5.
Yeah.
Point per dollar on hitters is a thing that doesn't exist. So
right.
I don't mind that. But
did
it's
they
just,
get to 20?
Right, exactly. But it's just like when you look at their prices, I don't think it's a great matchup against Chacin, and then relative to some other teams, they are pretty expensive.
Yeah, I'm with you.
The same goes for the Brewers. Like Christian Yelich is $5,500 on DraftKings. Grandal's 46. It's neither of these stacks are cheap.
Yeah, that's sort of why I like them. Just if their prices are going to keep people off of them. I mean, if I weigh their weighted runs created plus from Steamer based on the amount of plate appearances they're supposed to have in this game, the Brewers as a team, 113. The Dodgers, 121. Like, those are just nuclear offenses, and I guess that's how you get to a 9.5 run implied total.
Yeah. God, imagine if there were, like, bad pitchers in this game.
I know, for real. 196 weighted ISO for the Brewers, 200 on the dot for the Dodgers. Nuts. Can't get away from these guys. I'm interested. There's too much power potential. You should really have shares of the Brewers and the Dodgers on every single slate because they have different power than most other teams.
Yep, I do that with the Red Sox, and I'm pretty sure that's the sole reason that they are off to such a bad start.
Alrighty, Cardinals and Mets. Cards 4.9 run implied total. Mets 4.1. It's a 58% chance to win for the Cardinals. Adam Wainwright going for St. Louis. Jason Vargas going for New York. No love whatsoever going to Vargas today. We'll see if you want to get to that. Any interest in Wainwright? He's got a little bit of love. 8% ownership on DraftKings.
No, I mean, he's been decent this year, but I just don't buy into him.
Yeah.
He, very, very small sample size this year, has been getting lit up by lefties too. Not missing any bats. Even going back to last year, only an 8% swinging strike rate against lefties. And you do have left-handed power in this lineup. Pretty nice price points on a lot of them too. I would rather throw the Mets in there as just a low-owned stack with some upside than get to Wainwright, just because I think that there's plenty of talent in the mid-range that I can take chances on without getting to Wainwright.
Yeah, I can't imagine wanting to go to Wainwright here. This isn't 2009. Bless you. What about Vargas?
Nope, I'll take the Cardinals.
Yeah, okay. Never know. 5,600, he's the cheapest starter on DK. But I think him, Cobb, Smyly, who are the 3 cheapest on DraftKings, real hard to justify. There's enough in like the high 6s where you can still pay down and not have to just go dumpster diving.
Yeah, and there are enough good cheap hitters that you can fill out lineups. Speaking of which, Jose Martinez, $3,800 really stands out in this Cardinals lineup where, Ozuna and DeYoung and Goldschmidt are all almost 5K.
Yeah.
I love Martinez, and also don't sleep on Matt Carpenter in the lefty-lefty matchup. Vargas is, pretty not very good against anyone, but his his best pitch is his changeup, which does play better to right-handed hitters. And he's not a lights out guy against lefties, and Carpenter just stays cheap.
Yeah. 2% aggregate ownership going to the Cardinals stack right now. No one higher than 6%, which is Goldschmidt. Jose Martinez is at 2 right now, just in case you're curious. So I have no issue whatsoever going to a Cardinal stack. The only real problem for me will be that I have nothing that draws me to them. They won't rise because Vargas isn't getting any ownership, and they're priced at a point where they're just kind of like they're there. So I don't know how I would get to a lot of volume, but I wouldn't mind it if it happened. 114 weighted runs created plus as a team. Can't beat that. Any Mets bats for you?
Yeah, Robbie Cano, 3,600. I don't know what's up with his pricing, but really like that.
How is it possible that more than one site just forgets?
I don't know. It's crazy. So he's the one that really stands out.
Yeah.
Don't love 4,900 on Conforto or 4,100 on Nimmo or 4,900 on Alonso as individual plays, but I do really like the Cano price.
3,900 for Alonso on FanDuel is really appealing. I think he's the best Mets bat there, but no one getting ownership outside of Cano at 9%. And that's on both FanDuel and DK. Yahoo, I don't really need either of these teams. Let's talk cores. 5.3 run implied total for the Rockies, 4.8 for the Phils. The 54% chance to win for Colorado. Germán Marquez on the hill for the Rockies. Vince Velasquez going for the Phillies. Marquez, ownership across the board. Yahoo, 2. FanDuel, 2. DraftKings, 4. I got 27% Marquez on FanDuel right now. You mentioned that I was probably higher on Marquez, and based on that number, I'm pretty confident that's true. But how do you feel about Marquez today?
He's one of my favorite pitchers in baseball. I think he's one of the most talented. I hate taking guys against Philly because they generally work pitch counts, drive pitch counts up. They have a lot of good hitters. Obviously, it's Coors Field, but you are also getting a price discount on him. So, if he is coming in at that low ownership, he's like, you talk about all those like mid 8K guys that we've talked about with Rodon and Sanchez and Smith, as not as good as those guys are, they are not even in the same class of talent as Germán Marquez, and so that makes it really interesting if they're all going to be higher owned. Is there a risk taking a pitcher in Coors Field? Of course, but there's just so much upside to a guy with the stuff that Marquez has, especially because of the changes he made towards the end of last season, where he started just throwing his slider a lot more in Coors, cut back on his curveball. It made him a lot more effective there. Yeah, I'm with you. I think he's a fantastic tournament play. I don't know that I get to 30% of my lineups or not.
Yeah, no, I get that, and it's a lot different for me on FanDuel than it is on DK, where you're mix and matching for two separate guys. I don't like to have a terribly deep FanDuel pitching pool because ultimately you're only rostering one, so I don't need that player pool gets real thin real quick for me. But if I'm trying to win a GPP, I need the guys that can go out there and literally do it themselves. And Marquez is for sure one of those guys. There's a lot of strikeouts in this Phillies lineup. Well, maybe not a lot. It's probably not the right way to say it, but 21% aggregate K rate is, league average. I'm totally fine there. I liked going to Freeland yesterday against the Phillies, and I have no problem with it here for Marquez. He's just got really awesome stuff. And if people are going to get scared off because of Coors, I'm going to go for it. Today might not be the day that works out, but if he continues to get ownership like this in Coors Field, it's going to work out really well at some point in time. Any Velasquez for you? 6,700 on DK. No ownership whatsoever.
The price is tempting for sure. From a talent standpoint, the Colorado lineup just scares me. Getting Dahl back and getting Ryan McMahon back, I think makes it a lot more difficult for Velasquez. So I mean, yeah, I'd rather get to Junis. Like, I think that it's a scary spot for Junis also, but I like him a little bit more than Velasquez. If that game isn't playable or pitching at least isn't playable in that game, then I would imagine I get a little bit more Velasquez. But it's a play that I'll probably have a little bit of just because it's a leverage play against Colorado stacks, and he does have good stuff, but I'm not excited about it. And I would, if I'm playing one lineup and I just had to pick a side, I would take Colorado.
Yeah, same. I got a lot of Colorado on my first run. I got very little Philadelphia on my first crunch. And, I mean, that's just a tale of one of those guys facing Vince Velasquez and the other one's facing German Marquez is really all there is to it.
Yeah, Colorado, I mean, even though they disappointed last night for the most part, they really, like, immediately yesterday went from a team where your stacks were really, really ugly because it was just, Arenado's story and whatever Charlie Blackmon is right now is like 35 WRC plus this season. But it got a lot deeper with Dahl, with McMahon. It's actually an appealing one now. You have a guy with some power hitting sixth in Desmond. It got a lot deeper. It's a lot more appealing.
Yep, I'm with you there. I really like the first four, Blackmon, Dahl, Arenado, Story. And these guys are cheap on FanDuel. Like, Blackmon is $3,500 as a lefty leading off in course today against Vince Velasquez. He's at 27% expected ownership. I get it, and that's exactly where it should be. I mean, that's about as good as it's going to get for him. Unless Vince Velasquez was just an even worse right-handed pitcher.
Right.
Any Phillies bats that stand out?
No.
Yeah. Bryce for 27 on Yahoo, I think I'm okay with if you're filling out, cheaper stacks. But these guys they're pretty costly. Like McCutcheon's 4,500 on FanDuel, 4,800 on DK. Rhys Hoskins 4,500 on FanDuel, 5,200 on DK. I'm gonna have a hard time getting to the Phillies here, especially if Marquez isn't getting owned. It really removes the benefit. That's it. That's all I got on this one.
Yeah, me too.
3 to go. Angels and Mariners. Angels 4.1 run implied total. Mariners 4. It's a 52% chance to win for the Angels. Felix Payne going for LA. Marco Gonzales going for Seattle. No ownership whatsoever going to Marco Gonzales. Felix Payne got to 7% on DraftKings. Do you take any flyers, hoping today's the day that he gets a bunch of strikeouts?
Yeah, especially if we get a mostly right-handed lineup for Seattle. It's obviously a really dangerous lineup, but Santana, Haniger, Encarnacion, you can strike those guys out. Tim Beckham and Healy are strikeout guys. Pena has pretty big splits, but he can get strikeouts against righties. He does a pretty good job limiting power against them as well. And the other thing that I think works in his favor is outside of Jay Bruce, the lefties in this lineup aren't power hitters with Narvaez, Malik Smith, and D. Gordon. Vogelbach and Bruce really the only guys that have power from the left side here, and Vogelbach may not even be in the lineup. So I do think it's a relatively appealing spot for Felix Payne, at least from an upside standpoint. The ballpark's good as well. So at 6,400, I think I'll probably get to him.
Yeah, I would have no problem with it just because there's not a ton to pay down for. I think he's probably, he is the lowest option that I think is viable. And, take 5% of that and go for it if you're MMEing. Any Marco Gonzales? I assume no.
No, I just don't see the upside for him. I think he's a good pitcher. I think he's a better pitcher than projection sites give him credit for. But not a lot of strikeouts in the Angels lineup. Not a lot of strikeouts in him personally. Elevated price tag. I have a million guys in that price range that I like more.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Aggregate strikeout percentage for the Angels in this spot based on Steamer, 16%. Pretty clearly the lowest number on the slate. Going to have a hard time racking up the extra stats there. You need Marco Gonzales to basically throw a complete game because the strikeouts aren't going to be a part of it. It'd be like 2 hits, 3 Ks, just a lot of outs in the field. I don't like going for those games. Anybody outside of Trout on the Angels? And that team is just opposite of the rest of that team.
Yeah.
184 weighted runs created plus from Steamer. The next closest guy is Andrelton Simmons at 102.
Yeah, I was going to say Simmons at 3,500 at shortstop's fine. But
God. Man, I love Trout. If only he could be as good as Christian Yelich. Any Mariners bats? I didn't really get to much outside of Malik Smith in the leadoff spot on FanDuel, $2,800 outfielder. He's $4,400 on DK. Holy hell.
Jay Bruce is my favorite.
Yeah.
By a lot.
I love Jay Bruce.
So do I.
God, it's almost impossible to stack the Mariners. Outfield, first base, outfield on FanDuel. And just in case you think it gets better on DK, outfield, first base, outfield, first base.
Yeah. And then Ryan Healy, first base, third base.
Yeah. That's a really difficult team to stack. Yeah, I don't have much else that I want to talk about here.
Me neither.
Shout out Mike Trout. A's and Jays, 4.5 run implied total for Oakland, 4 run implied total for the Jays. It's a 55% chance to win for Oakland. Aaron Brooks making his transition to baseball from formerly being a quarterback in the NFL. Marcus Stroman.
In the NBA.
Yeah, that's true. Man, he was good for the Rockets. Marcus Stroman going for Toronto. 4% ownership to Brooks on DK is the highest number on any of the 3 sites for either of these pitchers. You care about Brooks or Stroman?
I have marginal interest in both. They'll both be in my player pool on DraftKings. Brooks, I prefer if we get extra righties in the Toronto lineup. He basically has one pitch that gets any amount of swinging strikes, and it's his slider, which he barely throws to lefties. He throws it a lot more to righties. And not surprisingly, he's getting blasted by lefties this year with no swings and misses, and he's been pretty good against righties with more swings and misses. So his projection for me will be pretty lineup dependent from Toronto, but Toronto is a pretty bad offensive team. Yeah. As far as Toronto hitters go, though, I don't mind taking a chance on like Justin Smoke at 4,100 from the left side. I think that's a pretty nice play. And then Stroman, I mean, he's a good real life pitcher.
Yeah,
and it's just a matter of if he ever chooses to try and get strikeouts instead of ground balls. So far this season, the righties, he's thrown his slider 40% of the time. Last season, he threw it like 36.5%. He gets swings and misses on it. It doesn't get hit particularly hard. I wish he would throw it more. But, it's on this slate, I don't see getting to a lot of him just because he still hasn't really shown that strikeout upside.
I can't really advocate for anything in this game.
No.
I mean, Randall Grichuk every day is a guy that I play. It's 3,300 on FanDuel. Just a lot of power. It's the type of guy that I want in a GPP. Jays are priced pretty advantageously on Yahoo. So Emac and I will probably touch on them a little bit when we get to that show at 12:30. A's are not priced advantageously on Yahoo. There's no public love to anybody. And no love from me. I can't really point anything out on either side.
Yeah, same boat I'm in.
Yeah, especially in Oakland. That's really the only piece that makes me like mildly interested in Stroman. Just the fact that he gets to pitch in Oakland.
Yeah.
Vast foul ball area. Final game. Look at us, 1 hour and 13 minutes, and we went through 13 games. I'll take it. 4.1 run implied total for the Padres. 3.5 for the Reds. A 56% chance to win for San Diego. Matt Strahm going for the Pods. Anthony DeSclafani going for Cincinnati. DeSclafani getting a little love. 12% ownership on Yahoo, 6 on FanDuel, 14 on DK. How do you feel about him as an SP2 at 7K on DraftKings?
He's like in that basket for me.
Yep.
I don't feel strongly one way or the other. I think the price tag is fair enough that I'll have some where he fits.
Yeah, he grades out really, really similar to Junis for me. They're getting similar ownership. I'd say that DeSclafani just has like a slightly higher floor since he gets the Padres and not the Yankees.
Yep.
But otherwise, no problem going to him. Any Strahm for you? I don't really know a ton about him other than I don't have him projected for a ton of innings.
Yeah, I don't really see getting to him on this slate. I have more interest actually in taking some shots at Reds one-offs here. I don't think Strahm's bad at all, but you do get the platoon advantage for really cheap guys like Eugenio Suarez and Matt Kemp. Kemp's 3,500 on DraftKings, Suarez 4K, Puig 3,900. It's not a spot where I expect the stack to score a bunch of runs against Strahm and a good San Diego bullpen, but Kemp and Suarez, especially in particular, have all kinds of power upside.
Yeah, 4% aggregate ownership going to the Reds on FanDuel. I've got 10 Votto, Suarez, Puig, Kemp, Peraza as a $2,200 second baseman. I really like this first five as a stack that is going largely overlooked. Puig's been bad this year, but $2,400 Kemp, $2,800 Puig, $3,300 Suarez. I like that. If they're gonna, these guys are like, if Suarez is 5% owned on FanDuel, you best believe I want to have more than that.
Yeah. Just kind of looking at numbers from last year. Kemp against left-handed pitching, 340 expected WOBA, 202 expected ISO. Suarez, 358 expected WOBA, 222 expected ISO. And then if you look, are they wrong? So Strom's like go-to pitch against righties has been his slider. He's thrown like 34% of the time. Okay, there. I had the numbers wrong. So last year against lefties, Kemp 398 expected ISO, 324 or 398 expected WOBA, 324 expected ISO. Suarez 416 and 270. And then Suarez, obviously limited sample size against left-handed sliders, but 420 expected WOBA and a 391 expected ISO. Kemp not impressive at all against the pitch in particular, but just good against lefties in general. I think both those guys grade out well for me.
Yeah. I'm going to have more of the Reds than I should. 3.5 run implied total for the Reds is really weird to me. Like, that's the lowest number of everybody that I have on the slate right now.
I mean, I think it makes sense. Like, I don't think Strom's bad, and the bullpen behind them is good.
Yeah, but like, I've got a weighted runs created plus of 104 for the lineup. Like, that's higher than I would have expected for a team to have the lowest number and not be facing like the nut pitcher of the day or something. There's a lot of aces on this slate, and none of those other teams have a lower implied total in just of what I have entered in right now. Kind of surprising to me.
Yeah.
Any Padres bats for you?
No.
$3,900 Manny Machado is, I guess, mildly in play for me, but
yeah, I mean,
I don't need it.
Right, he's 4,400. Franmil Reyes is 3,900. I love Reyes as a hitter, but I'd rather. When you talk about prioritizing, I'll take $3,800 Jose Martinez over Reyes here.
Yeah. The one bat I would want to point out, $11 Eric Hosmer on Yahoo. That's just really cheap for a lefty-righty matchup.
Is that high or low? Like, how many singles can he pick up here?
Yeah, oh, God. I wanted him to be so much better.
Yeah.
Guess the Royals probably did too, other than that 1 year. Reds have the worst expected WOBA of any team in MLB, courtesy of Aaron Borchert. Thank you, Aaron. Good to know. That's it. That's all I've got here. Keep an eye on the weather because it is going to be rough. I hit on it early. We have Awesemo Odds betting show coming up at 11:30. Immediately following that show, we will have myself and EMAC going through the Yahoo slate today. Going to take a look at everybody position by position, maybe build a lineup or two. Should be a fun, interactive show, so join us for that. And then Lofty will have the deep dive out in the early afternoon. Deeper dive, 4:45 today, you think?
Yep. Okay. Yep.
4:45 for the deeper dive, taking you back through these 14 games, weather updates, all the good stuff. So tune into that one. It's going to be very important. And live before lock, Chris Spags, Jake Hari, taking you into the weekend. Final show. So, Adam, anything else?
Nope, that's it.
There we go, everybody. MLB Strategies, the promo code, 50% off your first month with us. Shout out to Yahoo Sports for sponsoring us. Awesemo's the promo code. Click the link in the chat, and that helps us out a lot. That's the thing we want you to do most. So if you're signing up to Yahoo, check that out. And check out the show at 12:30. Best of luck today. We're out of here.